Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Legacy. My name's Noah Mitchell and I'm the Senior Learning Experience Designer here at Legacy FM. And today, I want to talk to you once again about something that has been a pretty significant challenge for me over the years, not only as my time as an instructional designer and learning experience designer, but really just in a lot of areas of my life. And I think for everyone, this thing is going to differ from person to person because different sorts of emotions and personality types, if you will, probably contribute to this manifesting in different ways. However, I'm sure there are several out there of you who will be able to relate to it very closely to my experience anyway. And so I guess I'll start with this. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the term work smarter, not harder. And I was a server before doing any of this. I actually waited tables after undergrad and waited tables while in graduate school. And something you would hear people say from time to time, usually managers, but not always, is, work smarter, not harder. Well, that didn't change whenever I got into instructional design. You still see this phrase being used a lot. But I think a lot of times it's easy for us to lose sight of what that really means. So on the one hand, I think that people think that, working smarter and not harder means you have to work lazily or something. And that's not the case, because when you work smarter, you can get things done more quickly or more efficiently, and you have more energy and resources to do other things and probably do other great things, improve the product, you name it, start a new product. And so, yeah, that's sort of, I think we lose sight of that. We think that people who are working smarter are cheating in some way or hacking the system in some way. And that's not the case. However, for me, I have been traditionally very stubborn and very anxious. And so when it came to any situation where I could work smarter and not harder, I would usually, and this was not always a conscious decision, I would work harder. Because why wouldn't you want to make things harder on yourself so you could really learn your lesson? And so that happens to me a lot. So the example I'm going to share in this video, though there are several examples, is the concept of using templates for the work that I do. Now, templates kind of get a bad rep. I think that a lot of people, again, see templates as like the really just bare minimum, the basis. You're a novice, you're a beginner if you're using templates. You're cheating, you're not really doing this, you're not really doing that. And sometimes that can be true. Some people probably just take a template, 100% copy it, and use it as their own source material. And that's fair points. I'm sure there are fair points all across the board. However, hear me out. So when it comes to using templates for courses or interactions, stuff like that, there are several. I use a tool called Articulate Storyline. And there's a huge and absolutely wonderful community of learning designers, just like myself and my colleague Hillary Landrum. And they are just awesome. They share their knowledge with other people, and when they create certain interactions, let's say maybe it's an accordion interaction where you can click on various parts of the accordion and it opens up and information pops up, stuff like that. They make that available for free to a lot of us to use. However, as awesome as that community is and as efficient as they're trying to make me, I haven't always been the type to use those templates. And a lot of this, again, as I mentioned earlier, comes from my own stubbornness. Just in the past, really, anytime I've been trying to learn something, I always felt like I wanted to do it on my own. Whether I failed or whether I got it right, I wanted it to be me and me alone who did it. And that led to me being extremely slow to adopt the concept of using templates. And that even extended to me creating my own templates. It's like, come on, man, just make your life easier. And so what would happen is it would translate to me spending sometimes several hours trying to figure out how to make something work this way. If I had a vision in mind, and sometimes that's okay, by the way, a little disclaimer here. Sometimes it's okay to do that. Not when you're like racing for a deadline though. Anyway, back to it. I would waste a lot of time and energy on trying to get something to work the way that I wanted it to work. And a lot of times, some of these interactions would be a little bit more complex on the back end side. So like I call it the programming side, even though storyline isn't traditional programming for me. It's drag and drop and using triggers and stuff like that to make things happen. But it still is programming in a sense. And so I would find myself just several hours later or even consecutively, thinking, oh my gosh, why doesn't this work? What can I do? It would stress me out. It would make me more tired. It would really sap my motivation and just frustrated, right? You're frustrated whenever that happens. And so eventually I started to get to the point when I said, you know what, maybe I should look into using templates every once in a while. And again, it's going to depend on the context. You have to be the one to decide whether or not a template is the right direction for you to go. But I found a lot of opportunities where I'm like, I can just see if someone's already done this so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go find that template, rearrange it, slightly reprogram it, change the color scheme and all of that. To make sure that it's still customized in the way that I need it to be. But the best part about it is that by working smarter, it saved me, a couple of hours, if not more, of extra work because the basis was already there. I just had to get in and kind of like rearrange things. Now that can still take a bit of time and effort, but in the end, it almost always translates to less time and effort, which means more time and effort for you to expend on other things and maybe other things that do need to be fully customized. And so, yeah, that's really that it was a pain point for me because I wanted to be able to figure out how to do it on my own instead of using things like this and working backwards to see how it was done. I still like to do that, by the way. I am not a saint by any means, but I do use templates when I can, and you should too. So that's what I'm saying. And it's not just an instructional design. There are templates for everything. And I guess really what I'm trying to convey in this video is that you shouldn't feel anxious or lesser in any way. You shouldn't be embarrassed to use a template, no matter what anybody says, because in the beginning, that's really where we should start. We need to start with the resources that we have available, and then we need to figure out a way to make them our own, right? So if they're free resources that you can use, give credit where credit's due if it's required, or take them and use them if there's no credit that you need to give to the original author or anything like that. But still make sure that you're doing things to it to make it your own. But I'd say another aspect of that is that using these templates, again, don't be embarrassed to do it, but also create your own templates. And that's something, again, as I mentioned earlier, that I didn't always do. And I started doing, and I'm really glad I did, because yesterday I used one of them. It came to mind and I said, oh man, you know what? It'd be really good to use that one interaction I created like 2 years ago. Seriously, 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half. Okay, but still. And I went into my folder. I had saved it in its own file, and I pulled that out and I modified it the way that it needed to be for the current project that I'm working on. And yes, it still took a couple of hours to get it to work the right way, but it saved me from the 4+ hours of building it up all together. And wow, that makes all the difference, y'all, seriously. So yeah, I know I'm kind of getting into the long part of this video, or the long end of this video, so I'm going to cut it now. But that's the thing. Never ever be embarrassed to work smarter and not harder. You might feel guilty, you might feel like you're not doing it on your own, and that's okay, because guess what? It takes a whole village. We can't do this on our own anyway. We need advice and input from other people, and templates are really just another form of that we get to use to make our products look good, to learn, and to really be more efficient and less stressed out. So please, please, please use templates when you can, whether it's for I don't know, accounting materials. If you're a freelancer and you've got to figure out how to do that, you can use templates for how to write really good emails to people. Let's say you are a CEO or you're someone else in a leadership position and you really are trying to find a way to write more compelling emails or more straightforward emails. Use a template. Why not? It's going to save you that time. Just across the board, use a template when you can. And then second of all, don't be afraid to make your own templates. If you create something and you're like, wow, this could be a really good template. I want to save this for the future because I think that I'll be using this a lot more later. Start your own file or folder of these different templates, and so that way you can very easily get back to them when you need them. I know I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of you all probably know this, but again, my videos are always to just let you know what my own experience is and to let you know that you're not alone and that, again, I sound like a broken record, I know, but don't be afraid, don't feel guilty, and don't be embarrassed to do things that make your life easier. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I hope you all have an awesome Wednesday. You take care, and we'll see you next time.